still a ton to eat and spit out, really, from the Georgia game.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. Got to change my microphone because y'all probably can't hear me worth the dang, so I just did. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today, and thanks to everybody for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Jimmy, want to keep talking about this Georgia win. It's a big deal, but there's a lot of other stuff certainly to get to. Want to talk about the state of the SEC, Alabama in the polls, the next 4 weeks. I mean, anyway, I keep slicing it. I'm like, where's the break? So we don't really have one. And Hayes Fawcett put out a very cryptic tweet, as he's known to do. And what does that mean for recruiting? But back to Bama, Georgia here for just a minute. I was looking at the snap counts courtesy of BOL today. Just as I suspected, it looks like Richard Young did not play. I don't know if that was injury related or if that was just a decision. I'm really good with it. I've made no secret. I'm not quite as high on Richard Young as a lot of Alabama fans. Doesn't mean I don't like him. Doesn't mean I don't think he's good. I'm just not – I wasn't expecting like Richard Young to have this breakout season. I really laid that gem at the feet of Daniel Hill, which also hadn't necessarily worked out. And I don't think any of us picked Kevin Riley. So it's gotten kind of weird back there in the backfield.
It's nothing like we anticipated this summer, really, because of the emergence of Kevin Riley. And let's just say it, the sinking of Richard Young and Daniel Hill. That's true. But regardless of who's back there, Luke, I think it's. I'm not going to act like it's untenable or just something that's absolutely giving us no chance. But I do think I would rank our inability to run the ball probably as the number one issue on the team in terms of like what's the biggest issue this team has. We're just not getting good enough production from the running back spot. The fact that we're shrinking the rotation, the fact that we're now using wideouts as ball carriers frequently, that's not a good sign to me. And it's very frustrating because I really believed in this offseason that Alabama would run the ball better. I still think Alabama might improve in this area as the season progresses, but it's the number one issue to me, lack of production in the run game from the running back spot. So whether it's Jam, whether it's Kevin, whether it's one of these guys that's not playing, it needs to get better. I will give them a major shout out, though. They're doing an excellent job of pass protection back there. Any back that's in the game, especially Jam, is doing a fantastic job picking up those blockers.
Well, why is my microphone throbbing? Did you see? I've never noticed that before. But like, can you see it? I'm like, yeah. That is so weird. Please stop doing that. The jokes write themselves.
Immunity.
Georgia did outrush us by about 100 yards, 227 to 130. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we talked about this after the Wisconsin game. You know, our first touchdown was essentially a handoff to Jeremy Bernard. Mm-hmm. And I'm with you. I think it's more a testament. I don't know if it's more a testament. It is telling in the sense that, number one, you can spin it positively and say, we really trust Jeremy Bernard. We think he's either the best player on the team or the second best player on the team. Or you can say, I'm worried to death about our running backs.
Both things would be fair.
Which I think both things are true. I don't think there's any doubt. Now, the other thing to attribute some of this to, Brandon Marcello had a great article on CBS Sports today. And again, I'm not trying to take any shine away from this win for us at all. But I think it's also fair to say the Georgia defense that we did really well against. And we also did really well against them in an incredible environment. It'd be one thing if we did this well and played them at 11 o'clock in the morning and the crowd was dead and there wasn't any anticipation. This game was hyped to the max. Georgia fans were ready for a win. They had that place packed to the gills, the lights, the whole thing. Everything was going crazy, the fireworks. There was, I think on the fourth down stop that LT Overton had, there was still smoke from the fireworks that had just happened. It like I saw it on TV. I don't know if everybody else noticed that, but anyway, this Georgia defense isn't vintage, and they have a severe inability to not rush the passer and to not get a lot of tackles for loss. They average like 4.7 tackles for loss, and they only had 4 against us. Meanwhile, so yes, you can say, hey, our offensive line did great. That is certainly true and certainly something to hang your hat on, and did great against arguably the best program of the last 5 years. You can also say we didn't get Georgia's best defense of those 5 years, probably their worst defense of these 5 years. Both things can be true, and I'm not trying to insult anything that we did. I guess what I'm saying is, don't be surprised if Vanderbilt or Missouri, who took a big Georgia player in Damon Wilson, or Auburn, teams like that actually get a lot more pressure than Georgia did.
I couldn't agree more.
And don't get mad at the offensive line about it, because it's not necessarily their fault. Do you see what I'm saying? I know the argument's coming.
I agree that Georgia's pass rush is not as good as some teams around the league. I know that sounds almost kind of shocking, as good as Georgia's been on defense under Kirby Smart, but they just lack true alpha dogs in that front seven to me. And our offensive line did an excellent job in pass protection. Now, again, run blocking, they stoned us pretty good, because still Georgia, when I say they don't have any alpha dogs, that doesn't mean they don't have NFL players. They're all NFL players, but they used to be littered with first-round picks, and now they're not, and it makes them a little easier to go up against. These next games, and we're going to talk about that coming up, but we're going to face some extremely good pass rushers. And hey, don't sleep on Vanderbilt's defense. It's not a top 10 defense nationally. It's not a defense that features the talent that even Georgia does. However, this defense is better than last year. I said all this offseason, Vanderbilt's going to be a better team than they were last year. I questioned whether their record would be better, but I felt they would be better, and they have exceeded even that, to say the least, and primarily because defense. People are mistaken if they think Vanderbilt's resurgence is Diego Pavia. No doubt he's the poster child of it. No doubt he's responsible for more of it than anyone else. But they're a better football team across the board. Offensive line, skill positions, and defense. Look, Keanu Coote, he transferred from Alabama to play for Vanderbilt. Years ago, I would have said automatically day one he would be their best defender. I don't even know how much he plays. I mean, that's a good group over there of solid defenders, and they play very smart and very hard. Alabama could 100% lose to any SEC team that's on the schedule remaining. Any of them. Yeah,
this Vanderbilt team is incredibly experienced. I mean, if they were any more experienced, they'd have to have their athletic dorm down here on Highway 22 at Hillaby Towers Senior Living, right here in Alexander City. I mean, they got a bunch of sixth-year guys, maybe even mix a seventh-year guy in there
Diego
somewhere.
Pavia was a finalist to be the Golden Bachelor.
Well, his mom's already won it, apparently, with what's that guy's name?
Theo Vaughn.
Theo Vaughn, yeah.
Did she really win?
That's true. Well, if she marries for money, I think he's got a ton of money. All right. A couple other things that I noticed. Number one, boy, I guess I saw this and it just never registered, but Georgia's 55-2 against everybody else the last 5 years. And they're 1-4 against us. That stat is mind-blowing. I mean, mind-blowing is used far too often these days.
I would be so much more proud of that stat if during that time period Alabama didn't have losses to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma and Michigan. So much more proud of that stat. I mean, yeah, but it just goes to show this. Recruiting under Nick Saban was unbelievable. Recruiting under Kalen DeBoer has also been very, very good. and no one out-talents Alabama, not even Georgia. As good as they are, I couldn't have more respect from them. I still say right now, at this moment, Georgia's the best football program in the country. I believe that.
I'm fair. That's fair.
But they don't out-talent Alabama, which is a tribute to Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer.
And look, I know everybody's probably seen it on Twitter, the two screens where Kirk and Chris are calling the game, and when they throw the ball to Caden Proctor, and you see their genuine reactions, like authentic reactions, and they were just like laughing like schoolgirls, which I think all of us were. And I think as college football fans, we love to see that because we want to know that our announcers like enjoy this as much as we do. And that was pretty cool. But I got to say, I think Kirk and Chris missed an opportunity, because it was Cash Jones that didn't get the first down. In fact, didn't Cash Jones get stopped on 2 attempts to try and get a first down against Bama on the fourth?
I just know.
At least on one.
Right.
But I can't believe they didn't say Cash Jones is stopped, and you got to give credit to LT Overton. That'd have been not bad, right? It's a bit of a thinker.
It would have been something. It would have been something.
I was so much more fired up about that than you, and then you just really shot
hand it to Cash and bankrupt.
Luke Robinson must be his money manager because Cash went nowhere. That would have been better. That would have been much more of a niche joke, but okay. 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade, y'all. 5-Hour Energy delivers shots and delivers tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. We're going to need everybody to be packing these shots for Vanderbilt because we're going to need the crowd at full throat. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5, hourenergy.com. Or you can just go do it at Amazon if you want to, if you're into that thing. I want to talk a little bit about the state of the SEC for a second, but I did want to relay this funny story. So I was talking to my dad, and he had placed a few friendly wagers for entertainment purposes only this weekend, and he bet on Texas A&M. And I said, Dad, look, I think Texas A&M is going to win that game. I said, but I would not – don't ever bet on Auburn when the spread's involved. The only thing you can do, you can bet on Auburn on the money line every game, and that way you're happy either way. That's the only way this works, And Auburn will screw you every time if you bet on them with the spread. And what did Auburn do? Texas A&M missed 2 field goals. They would have had a chip shot field goal if they had run the stupidest play in the history of American football when Auburn actually turned it into what it was essentially a pick six. I mean, Auburn scored from 2 yards out when he got tackled, but it was a pick six. And then Texas A&M scored again, and it was called back due to a legal man downfield. I mean, it was just time after time after time after time. And meanwhile, my mom, who, as many of you know, is she's still dealing with cancer. This is going to be something she dies with, and hopefully not because of. But she's gone through all the chemo. She's had ankles fused. She's a lot of problems, but she's doing better. And she's just laying in bed, not knowing anything. And Dad had A&M -6.5 and so -7. And Mom said, Ricky, what? While I'm in bed, let me put a little bet in. I want to bet on Notre Dame and Oregon. Dad goes, you don't know the lines. She goes, I know. But I saw the best little story on this kid from Notre Dame. And then later on, there was this really cool thing on Oregon. And I think I'm just going to take both of them for like $50 each. He was like, all right. Guess what she did? Won them both.
Well, her analysis was sound.
Well, that's what, and ultimately Dad and I were like shaking our head like how, and then we were like, I guess that's as good as thing as any. Because essentially you can analyze it all you want to. In the end, it's a coin flip. You're going to pick one way or the other. So
yeah, and I mean, when it comes down to that sort of stuff, I mean, I'm pro. Hey, if you enjoy wagering, I 100% get it. If come up with who you think knows college football better than anyone in the whole country, who knows it better than anyone, and then ask yourself, are they betting on the games and making bank?
No.
I mean, I respect the heck out of Josh Pate. I think he knows the sport as well as anyone. I think he knows the teams as well as anyone in the media. I think he does. And he picks games out loud every week. And he does okay, but he ain't 100% every week by any means. He's not. And I mean, it's just an extremely difficult thing to do. Even when you know much, I like your mom's analysis is as sound as anything.
Spot on. It's infallible. But there was also a friend of ours who was at one time a very prominent, I think he's passed, but a very prominent attorney in Birmingham. And he was part of this little group down here with my dad and a bunch of other people. And we were talking, and he said, yeah, I have this, I said, I got to go pay my bookie. And he said, I lost 20 grand. He said, and we were like, God, what a week. And he goes, no, what we do is at the end of the year, he said, nobody settles up anything. At the end of the year, whatever I am or whatever he is, we settle up. And he said, I lost 20 grand this year. And he said, I went to see my bookie and I gave him this big wad of cash. And my bookie said, hey, here's a sheet if, basketball season's starting up. And he said, I told him, man, I don't know anything about basketball.
I don't know.
He just lost 20 grand on football. But he's like, no, basketball would kick my butt.
Yeah, I don't know enough about basketball. I get back to, I think it was, I'm butchering the line from Cheers, but Shelley Long's character, Diane, much like your mom, I think also had a sound analysis. She knew nothing at all about football, but she overheard the guys gambling or picking on NFL games. And she is like, how in the world are a bunch of Dolphins going to beat a bunch of Bears?
That is very fair.
I think, well, there you go.
It's very fair. Okay, so the SEC standings are just what everybody thought they would be at this time, with Ole Miss number 4 in the country at the top. They're 3-0. They've played three SEC games already, which is nuts. Missouri, of course, everybody knew this. They'd be also 1-0 at the top standings, along with Vanderbilt and along with Oklahoma and along with Texas A&M. And then there's the Alabama Crimson Tide, who technically is 6th in the league because we have a loss and all those teams, our aforementioned teams, don't. Georgia's right behind us, LSU right behind us. But I'm looking at this and I'm looking at like who has the best path. I think outside of Missouri taking on us in 2 weeks, by the way, after a bye week and after we play Vanderbilt. Yeah. And then they travel to Auburn, and that is so tricky. I hate to predict that game right now. Number one, because Auburn always screws you. I just told you about that. But number two, because Auburn will be coming off the Georgia game, I have to assume just the odds tell me Georgia's going to win that game. And then Auburn's 0-3. And I don't know if the Auburn fans are going to be like, okay, this is where we turn it around and like show up in droves, or if they're going to be like anybody but Hugh Freeze. We'll take Brian Harsin back over Hugh Freeze. So I just don't know. But Ole Miss is about to get a week off. Yep. Then they play Washington State, who's not, obviously without John Mateer. But Ole Miss then goes to Georgia, to Oklahoma, and they welcome in a South Carolina team that may be very desperate after those 2 tough games. That's going to tell the tale for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss has to do some winning on the road. Now, they do have a road win. I'll say even after they beat Kentucky in their first SEC game on the road, I'm like, road wins are gold this year, and Alabama just picked up a very, very big one. Road wins are gold. I predicted this summer 50% out of humor and 50% out of seriousness that there could be a 6-team pileup for the SEC title, maybe as many as 6 teams at 6-2. I'm still sticking with that. That's kind of going to be the ultimate outcome, about 6 teams at 6-2. Sticking with that. But I will say one thing that was wrong-headed about that pick that I made this summer is the bottom of the league is better than I thought it would be. The very bottom of the league. I'm talking about Kentucky teams that I perceive to be the worst teams in the league. Kentucky, Mississippi State, Arkansas. The worst teams. They're going to get more wins than I thought. I thought basically they were all finishing 0-8 or 1-7.
But the top's worse, right?
I think the top is a little
slightly
worse, and the bottom is up, and it's creating even more of a pile up. But I don't know that a bunch of teams can finish 6-2. Maybe a bunch of teams might finish 5-3. I mean, in because of that level of parity. But we'll see. I do think winning on the road, who can finish 2-2 on the road? That could get you to Atlanta. 2-2 on the road can land you in Atlanta. Ole Miss already halfway there because they got to play at Kentucky. That's a tremendous advantage this year because Kentucky is behind the rest of the league. Seemingly, I still think there's sort of a tough out, but they're the team you'd like to play on the road if you got to pick one. But boy, Alabama's road schedule is still tough, dependent on whether Auburn puts it together or the wheels come off.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you had told me prior to the season, I would have said, where can you go on the road and play? I would have said Mississippi State, Kentucky, coin flip. Give me either one of those on the road. I don't want to go play at Mississippi State right now.
Yeah, Tennessee didn't have a great time on their Stark Vegas vacation at all. And Auburn, I'll say this. Auburn, to me, when I watch them play, they're a little better than I thought they would be. And I know people are saying, they just lost 2 games in a row. How can you say that? How many teams are just going to stroll into Norman and beat Oklahoma and then go to College Station and beat A&M? It's a product of the schedule to me more than a product of Auburn being bad.
I think Auburn is both better and worse. And the reason is because if you want to just look on paper, they lost to the number 5 and number 6 teams in the country or whatever on the road, and they one-score games. But you got to watch the games. This is where some people who hate the eye test, this is why y'all screw up, because if you watch those games, frankly, I mean, you want to talk about some bad calls in the Oklahoma game, fine, whatever. But Auburn didn't look like a team that Oklahoma looked better. They just looked better.
No question that was true.
And A&M looked a lot better. They just couldn't finish in the red zone. And then they were missing field goals. And then they had, if A&M doesn't do, honest to God, I don't understand that play call to Terry Bussey where they try and throw it out to him. And that's the only way Auburn gets back in this game. It's sort of like Georgia outthinking themselves, where it's like, just line up and run it and get a yard.
Leave it to Auburn. They've somehow been impressive to me on offense. I'm impressed by watching them offensively while they go 0 for 1,000 on third downs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like 0 for 1,000.
Well, they're 3 of 28 or something.
I think I read they're below 100th in the nation, below 100th in the nation third down conversion. That's terrible. I watch them on offense and I'm like, their backs are better than I thought. Jackson Arnold's better than I thought. Cam Coleman is a complete freak show. Malcolm Simmons is good. Singleton is good. I think ultimately what it is their offensive line is pretty bad, and I think they expected it to be better.
That Xavier Chaplin guy they spent a lot of money on from Vitek has just been a complete disappointment. There's no other way to say it. He's had more penalties. He's got to had more penalties.
He was really bad again, and he got really abused against A&M. Now A&M's got a really good defensive front. Oklahoma,
but they were without Scooby Williams.
Yeah, I mean Oklahoma again. To me, it's product of the schedule this week. Interesting. Some of the better teams in the league are at home against teams they should beat, like Alabama, like Georgia against Kentucky, Texas A&M hosts Mississippi State. Those are 3 of the best teams in the league to me: Alabama, Georgia, and A&M.
It's a terrible schedule this week.
They should all easily win, and by easily win, I mean 2 scores. They should all easily win. The only super intriguing thing to me is Florida and Texas, just simply because, I'm going to be the last off the arch train. Y'all can make fun of me all you want because
you're the last. Yeah,
anyway, I'm the last one off the arch train.
You're probably the last one off the Napier train too. Are you off that train?
No, I've kind of been off the Napier train. Though I like Billy, and though I think he's a good coach, and I think a lot of schools ought to get in line to hire that guy, but not elite Power 4 schools. I think Florida needs to make a change if they can afford one. But I also think, I should have prefaced that by saying, Texas and Florida, someone's going to fix themselves that day. Someone's going to fix themselves. And by that meaning, I think whoever wins that game is going to be good from here on out. Whoever wins it, either one, whoever wins it's going to be good from there on out. With Florida's defense and Lagway, maybe it's them. I tend to think it's Arch in Texas.
All right, everybody, need to talk a little quo now, as in status quo, QUO. Great new sponsor. Appreciate them so much being with us. And Quo, formerly Open Phone. You might remember them as Open Phone. One of the tools that makes a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. We all know this. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or your computer. No more carrying around 2 phones like a sucker. Nope, Quo handles that. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone, to get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months. Go to quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's Quo, QUO.com/lockedoncollege, all one word. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge, baby. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Jimmy Stein guarantee on that one. Then we're going to do a little FanDuel talk. FanDuel's awesome, man. If you're enjoying it,
we've been talking about them the whole show.
Yeah, they really are awesome, and they got the Ty Simpson yardage by like they had it within 1 yard. That is phenomenal. The NFL season is here, as you well know, and FanDuel has an offer that you won't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. I got to read that right. That's crazy. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if this hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live games and taken some action during those contests. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Also, a Jimmy Stein guarantee.
They nailed Ty's over-under on the passing yards, yes, but I said Ty would go well over 300, and I was really adamant that was true. What would Ty's numbers have looked like had Ryan not dropped the ball? I mean, Ty's numbers were really good anyway. Well, now add that pass completion, and he's over 300. And
but no, because we scored on that drive anyway, and most of it was passing.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. He made up for it, yeah.
But let's go back to that for a second, because I don't know what to do here. And if you're an Alabama coach, I get the sense now, and maybe I'm completely wrong. I just get the sense, and maybe this is just a fandom thing, that he's going to have to do something great again to like regain some trust. I mean, the Wisconsin, the move that broke ankles was fantastic. But then when you drop, he has now dropped in 2 consecutive games against Power 4 opponents, one of them a monster game. He has dropped 100% surefire touchdowns. If you're going to be the guy that people are putting on the cover of EA Sports, if you're going to be the guy that everybody's talking about as the most dynamic player in college football, I don't care what you have to do, but you have to make those catches. Some people have complained, hey, maybe he doesn't like the contact. He didn't get physical enough. Hell, I saw him get pinballed around a little bit.
Yeah, but there's too much video physical evidence that's not true. He takes licks and holds on the ball. He's gotten whacked multiple times. Holds on the ball. I don't think it has anything to do with contact. I think it has solely to do with concentration, and it's a little bit in his head. I don't think it's approaching the Seth McLaughlin issue a couple years ago, but it's like that. I mean, Seth was a good player, except it got in his head about the one thing, and once it's in your head, it's hard to get it removed. And I don't know how Ryan's going to fix that. I just know this: he does the hard stuff so well. Getting open and getting that kind of separation, that's the hard part. Catching the ball's the easy part.
Yeah.
And he can catch balls in his sleep, but it's in his head. And now I think it's officially in his head. Now, how do you fix that? Seth fixed it. Unfortunately, it took him an off season. Seth fixed it and became the best center in college football his last year at Ohio State.
Won the Remington.
Best center in the sport because he fixed it. Ryan's got to fix this. And once he fixes it, he's the best wide receiver in the sport, perhaps, but he's got to get it fixed. And I'm the last person to ask. He's got good coaches. His head coach is a college football receiver. He's got resources in place to help him out. Nick Saban's just a phone call away. All of these things, because I think it's mental. But if I was Ryan, I would, or advising Ryan, I would say, Ryan, look, here's Devontae's phone number. Here's Julio Jones' phone number. I want you to call them, tell them about, what's going on, and listen to every word from Devontae and Julio, because Julio had some drop issues early in his career. Devontae, not so much, but I find their games so similar, and Devontae's hands are so good. Maybe there's drills, maybe there's mental things, but I should be on the phone with like Devontae and Julio and listen to what they have to say. But people that question his work ethic, y'all don't know what y'all are talking about. Ryan works as hard as anybody on the team.
Agreed.
His coaches love him because he does work at it so hard, even in his quote off time. He's working on football. Don't question that. This is a yips type situation. Happens to a lot of players, and he's just going to have to work through it. When he does, he may be the best in the country. That's why you don't bench him. That's why Alabama and Nick didn't bench Seth, because again, there was some good. There's a lot of good to him once you get past that. And Ohio State, unfortunately, was a beneficiary of it, not Alabama.
The thing that bothers me so much about it, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that would have been the first legit deep ball that we'd hit all year. Now, Ryan's made a 75-yard touchdown, but that was a screen.
Right.
I mean, this would have been the first legit, because we talked about Ty's. The one flaw that Ty really had in the Florida State game was his deep ball just looked awful. Now, maybe he was seeing ghosts because the line played terribly, but that was a thing of beauty. That thing came down like a loaf of bread from the second floor, and Ryan just bobbled it immediately.
Maybe it'll help Ty. Maybe it'll help Ty feel good about the next call downfield. I mean, really, all Ty can do is all Ty can do, and then when your guy doesn't make the catch, you just clap and you bring him back and say, hey, you'll get it next time, man.
Well, look, I won't get into the AP top 25. I was hoping to, but we've sort of run tight. But I know everybody would rather talk about recruiting. Hayes Fawcett put out, again, one of his little tweets about Alabama ×2, and it shows the Tide coming out of their home tunnel, I think it was. And so it means 2 commitments, essentially. I mean, Hayes doesn't miss on these things. He knows. He's doing the graphics. So who do you think? The Sabb brothers?
I think that's very possible. Very possible. I know, I hope, just because I think the world of this kid as a player. Jared Doty. Now, I don't know that he would commit. He's the offensive lineman from Atlanta, a late bloomer that everyone is trying to sign. And everyone is trying to sign him. He's huge. He's a tackle. He's just a late bloomer. That's all that happened in my mind. It might be too late for him to jump into the top 100, but this is a top 100 talent. I hope it's him, just because I'm such a big fan. The Sabb brothers would be great. I would be very excited about those two. Alabama continues to recruit other players. It could also be 27 guys. Alabama's recruiting a lot of 2027 guys. Let's not rule that out.
Well, one of the Sabb brothers would be a 27.
One of the Sabb brothers is a 27. But Alabama offered the Birmingham. Alabama offered 2 in-state defensive linemen in the past few days. A defensive lineman from Birmingham, a defensive lineman from Mobile. You could get quick commitments from in-state offers.
All right, I will just say this about the polls. Again, we're all still over the moon about Georgia, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but just listen to this. And polls are what they are. So far, we've played.
Immunity.
Huh?
Immunity. I listen to Josh quite a bit, so I'm stealing all this stuff. The immunity thing.
Missouri's at 19. Florida State, obviously, we played them at 18. Vandy 16. Tennessee 15. LSU 13. We've obviously played Georgia at 12. We are number 10. Oklahoma's 5. Ole Miss is 4. That's a lot of numbers of teams we got to play. And then when you factor in, we've also got to play an Auburn team that hates our guts and always plays well in that VooDoo cursed stadium.
And that South Carolina game. I don't care that South Carolina's not ranked. I don't care that they've underperformed to this point. That's going to be a very, very tough ball game to win. They're good enough to beat you. They're going to play out of their minds. That is a great home environment. And Nick Saban took one of his most talented teams in 2010 and lost there to a much lesser quarterback than Lenore Sellers.
Yeah. Now, it was a much better coach, though. So
I think so. Well, obviously, Spurrier, Hall of Famer. I think Shane Beamer gets. I think he's getting a little over criticized right now, just simply because South Carolina had high expectations. I would say, well, one of the reasons they had high expectations is because Beamer's built a pretty good program over there.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.